This next thing, though, is incredibly important. It may be one of the best things I share with you all day. I've shown you examples of it earlier, and John loves this stuff and uses it in his work as well. So does Arthur. It's called a ratio ticker symbol. So the general topic here is how do we compare different data sets, different stocks or different indexes, that kind of thing. And we've been looking at different ways to compare it all day long. So here's another way to compare things, and it is very powerful. A ratio ticker symbol is a ticker symbol where we have divided two data sets by each other and then turned that division result into its own ticker symbol, its own index. This is where you can invent your own index to a certain degree. Essentially what you do is you take one ticker symbol, you then type a colon, and then you type the other ticker symbol. And when you do that, when we see that, you can put that in the main ticker box up above the chart, or you can put it in any of those price indicators or price performance indicators that we just looked at. Although, frankly, the price performance of a ratio symbol kind of hurts my head. When we see a ticker symbol that has a colon in it, we do the following arithmetic that you see there on the screen. We take the open, high, low, and close of the first symbol and divide each of those by the close of the second symbol. It turns out if you did the open by the open and the high by the high and the low by the, if you did each one, you would end up with invalid candles. There are times where, like the high, if you did that math, then you'd end up where a high wasn't actually the high. So invalid candles are bad. So we came up with this scheme where we just look at the close of the second ticker symbol and apply that universally. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And here's an example where we've taken Microsoft and divided it by $SPX. This is straight out of John's book, The Visual Investor. This is called a ratio and sometimes a performance chart, but we like to call it a ratio chart. The interpretation could not be simpler. The interpretation is if the line is rising, then the first ticker is stronger and outperforming. If the line is falling, then the second ticker is stronger and outperforming, and the first ticker is weaker. And so you use these comparison charts to get a sense of of which things are stronger and which things are weaker. John uses this with intermarket analysis constantly. In this case, we're comparing Microsoft to the S&P 500, and we can see that there was a point in time in 2009 where Microsoft was nicely outperforming things. Evidently, the good times ended on January 1st, 2010, because you can tell more or less from that point on until recently that Microsoft, that line was trending down, and so the S&P was outperforming Microsoft at that time. Recently, it turned around, and I don't know where it is at this point. This chart's a little old. You can also see that I've added a moving average line to this chart. I can add Bollinger Bands. I can add anything I want to. This ratio ticker symbol is just like any other ticker symbol that I type in, and so it can be used. I can do the MACD of it. I can do RSI, all these different kinds of things. And moving averages in particular are helpful because they help you understand turning points. And as John and Arthur mentioned, they kind of form curving support and resistance lines. You can use trendline analysis on these charts, lots of different kinds of things. Okay, this is actually stuff we already looked at, and I'm going to finally leave you with putting it all together. So here's a chart that uses a lot of different techniques that we've talked about today. It's a chart of Microsoft. Up top, we see a Microsoft :SPX indicator. So what is the actual indicator setting we use to get that green line up at the top of this chart? Anybody? Price. We use the price indicator, and what was the parameter? The price indicator, the parameter was MSFT: $SPX. The price indicator takes a ticker symbol as its parameter. In this case, we're plotting a ticker symbol, which is this ratio thing. So it's a price indicator, MSFT, $SPX is the parameter. Does that make sense? And it was, the position was above, the color was green. We then have a candlestick chart in red and black in our price plot area, in the main area of this chart. And we can tell from the legend and we can tell from the symbol at the top right corner of the chart that we are plotting Microsoft by itself. So the main symbol for this chart is just MSFT. That's the symbol that we would put in the upper box above the chart. However, below that, or behind that, is a Bollinger Band, an orange Bollinger Band that has some opacity turned down, so it's not dominating the chart. And then behind that is a purple candlestick chart. We actually can't tell directly from this chart which ticker symbol that is, but we have a suspicion. We have a clue. Unless we're completely crazy, it's going to be $SPX. Because this chart is all about comparing Microsoft to the S&P 500. So I strongly suspect, based on the fact that we had a ratio of those two above, I strongly suspect that that purple candle thing in the background is, but I honestly don't know. I was like fast asleep when I created this. I was not a clue in the world. But then down below it, we can also see a different indicator. We see two indicators. Anybody have any idea what those two indicators might be and how we created them? Again, this is exactly the stuff I was just showing you. It's price performance of what? Price performance of Microsoft overlaid on top of another indicator, which is the price performance of the SPX, using the behind IND settings.